So here we are going to church. Why this church? Well, you can see why. It's a really nice church. You know me, I'm a fan of architecture, so we're here visiting this church, Trinity Episcopal Church here in Columbia, South Carolina, because we like to go do different things, and it never hurts to go visit another denomination. I mean, we're not Episcopalian. I don't think you are, but you might be. So you might want to come visit this church. But it doesn't matter if you are or not. You can still visit this church. We're more than happy to have you come visit, because we're just out here living the coolest life. Well, now we're inside, and here's basically the seating area that you would get if you come to Trinity Episcopal Church here in Columbia, South Carolina. They've got a lot of these dividers here. You don't see these in a lot of traditional churches. Well, maybe traditional churches you do, but definitely not newer churches. I mean, our church is at Cascade Hills Baptist Church is theater seating, way different than this. This does remind me of the other video I have about there's a church in Savannah that has a lot of this type of squared off. If I remember, their walls are more like this tall instead of this tall between them. But they got little doors right here that are pretty cool. Of course, you see a place like this with all this woodwork, and you think, wow, it probably takes them days just to dust it, or to dust any of this up here. It's really just a nice church. In fact, you see people you might even recognize. They're my son Kyle. We're just looking around. I'm big fans. Of course, it's okay. He's studying to be a chaplain. It's all right. But just a nice stained glass work they have. And of course, they have stained glass all the way down here and going all the way around. Tells different stories and depict different scenes of the Bible. In fact, I might even grab my things and walk up here a little closer to one of these. Find this anymore. I don't know how long this has been. But just the different tales. Third day he shall rise again. It's just got depiction after depiction. And it's really such a nice. Just everything about it is just so unusual. There's not a lot of churches like this anymore. Definitely in smaller communities, you're not going to find them. The money just isn't there to support them. It takes a lot to property taxes and everything to run a huge church like this with all this. The power bill alone is going to be high. So they go on a lot of old money, I guess you'd say. But it's just a really beautiful setup that they have here. If you ever get a chance to visit a church and you're here in Columbia, be sure to come check them out. We actually went to another church earlier today. It was actually on post at Fort Jackson, but we came to this church here because we wanted to see something that had a little more character to the facility itself, and of course the processes. We had a large process in our handout here. That talked about the actual prayers that we do and everything. But definitely come check out this church. It was definitely worth a stop and worth a Sunday stop. Now I'm here at the very back of the church. Well, I guess it's the front of the church. You come in the front door, so I guess it's the back. But this is at the back of the stand. There are churches and there are churches. They're just different. It's the best thing about churches are which one affects you the most, which one that you accept the religion from the most. In my case of Christianity, I would say the best Christian church is the one that you accept Christ in. Then it all makes sense. This might be a church for you. It might not be a church for you. They typically do hymnals, as you would probably imagine you saw in part of the video. But and it's a lot of history, and just the architecture itself is just it's just crazy. I'll say crazy. It's really not crazy. It's just different. It reminds me a lot of the Basilica at Notre Dame Cathedral. Be sure to check out that video if you haven't already. But I'm going to get a video down here at this other end in just a minute. But everything from the staffs to the decorative work here and some of the other things. But it's just a real beautiful church. Real nice. So also in most larger churches, you have side rooms and side buildings that they have here. This one here is no exception. I'm actually standing on stage about 4 steps up to this really nice area here. Looks like it'd be a really good spot for a wedding reception. They also obviously got a microphone. Restrooms are just over that way. But it's a really nice building. Just the architecture alone, all the woodwork. Really nice. I don't think people take advantage of churches nearly as much as they should, especially with space like this. You know, why are you going to go to a hotel and pay their prices when you could go to a church, have ample parking? Not everyone has to stay at the hotel in order to use the facility. So, but definitely a place like this should be in mind. Anytime you want to rent space, you know, find a local big church and see if they'll rent you some space. More likely, they'd probably do that here. So right now I'm outside of one of the gardens that they have here. Not a huge garden, but kind of nice. It's a nice little touch when you talk about a lot of structured buildings, and you want to put like a little medium way between the two, and so you kind of put a little garden out there. It's a nice little touch. So we're right out here beside the church itself. It's actually right here downtown, a pretty busy street, but there is a cemetery. Again, right here downtown. Kind of reminds me of Savannah or maybe even New Orleans, especially with some of the ones they have down here, which looks like that they're actually above ground. But it's pay no never mind to the goofball. Well, that was a good time. It's time for me to close out this video. So that was a real good visit to that church, the Trinity Episcopal Church there in Columbia, South Carolina. It's a real good church. I like it. A lot of traditions. One of the things that struck me kind of unusual is I'm used to being at a church and half the time that you're there, you're actually being preached to. And I think that's more churches than not. At least half the time is that, and the other half is worship and announcements and everything. I would say this one was about a quarter, maybe a quarter was actually, I say being preached to, I mean the actual sermon. But it was enjoyable. I liked it. We actually went to church earlier that day to, I guess it was a Baptist service, but it was good. It was good. Facilities, not so much. I mean, it was okay. It was a nice church, but it wasn't as nice as this one that we just went into. So anyway, this was it was a good time, and I want to encourage you to travel to other churches. Not just for architecture reasons, but that is a really good reason. Even when you're on vacation, why not go to a different church in that area? It's not mean you're going to, be a member and be there for 4 or 5 years, but you can just go visit like we just did today. I might not ever go to that church again. I don't know when I'll be back in Columbia, South Carolina. So no telling, but I'm definitely looking forward to visiting some churches and bringing you with me. If you want to, be sure to like and subscribe and leave some information down in the comments down below if you enjoyed this church, or maybe there's a particular church in your hometown you think I really need to see since I like that one. But I'd definitely like to hear from you, and send us to your friends and send us to your pastors or whoever else likes to travel to different churches like I do. But that guy you saw in there with me was my son Kyle. He is a chaplain in the Army, so real proud of him for doing that. His life kind of went like this a whole lot, like most lives. But I think he's finally on a straight and narrow and ready to do some really good things, helping other people, especially in their walk with Christ and in religion in general, with the chaplaincy in the United States Army. So anyway, looking for good things with him. And when I go see him in Hawaii, how much longer he'll be in Hawaii, but I'll be going there pretty shortly, I would think, maybe even next summer, if not the summer after that. Definitely do a whole lot of videos. I'll be doing a lot of videos on that because I know Oahu pretty well, and I want to record a lot of the things that we do, like a lot of those hikes that we take. We take a ton of hikes, and I really enjoy the hikes. I want to take you along with me, but you gotta like and subscribe, hit that bell, and so come along on our adventures. Because now, join us because we're just out here living the coolest lives.